that knows me, anybody that knows me knows that I am a history buff, a person who loves to know a little bit more about my ancestors and kind of how we got to where we are. And so for me right now, I know we talked about Martin Luther King, his monument, how the brothers of A5A were instrumental in reference to getting that particular monument set up for him, as well as how the person that was behind it, and I think it's Mr. Harry E. Johnson, that's right. Mr. Johnson was behind the actual monument, and just talked about how some of the struggles that he had with that particular monument and how he felt that Dr. King was worthy of this particular monument and that it was worthy of his work to be able to be one of the pillars in reference to getting this particular monument done. So that was one good thing. I think one of the things that that Mr. Johnson talked about, he said in his own words, Mr. Johnson revealed that the force behind the fifth law of wealth, at those very moments when I contemplated throwing in the towel, allowing someone else to handle the headaches, I thought about Dr. King. I mean, here was a man who, when given a choice, didn't think twice. For my and my future generations, here was an individual who chose to endure the beatings, undergo the hardship, and turn a cheek to degradation, put up with indecency, tolerated inequities, and withstood the oppression in order that I possibly enjoy a better life. The least that I could do is to try to make a difference, to try to leave this world in the better condition than I found. I owe it to Dr. King to continue the struggle forward.
Wow.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was good. Even from another standpoint, I mean, same standpoint, how I served the chapter also kind of showed how so many people put in so much to make things happen. I think, is this the one that goes back to the boycott, the bus boycott? Am I going back?
Yes, it goes back to Rosa Parks and her place in history. Yes.
So in all the grand scheme of things on how may I serve thee, of course, Dr. King, this whole chapter talks about service. Of course, Dr. King was the ultimate servant in this particular chapter, but when they talked about Rosa Parks, they also talked about all the people that were involved and intertwined with the boycott that happened in Alabama. It also talked about the gentleman you just talked about, the guy from the fraternity, that his service, how he had to convince the powers that be, quote unquote, that Dr. King was actually worthy of having this monument on that mall, which only relegated itself to
presidents,
white men.
Right.
Well, since we never had a black president by that time. And he had to convince them, and of course they told him, well, here's your spot now. Now go and fall on your face, because you're not going to be able to raise the millions of dollars it's going to take to make this happen. And it shows that it's a testament to, again, how I serve all the individuals, everything from from a $70 commitment to hundreds of millions of dollars of commitment. How I serve these. So this whole chapter just went into service.
It did.
It really is service all the way through.
It did. It was really good because it talked about Bob Johnson, of course, the connection with Charlotte, North Carolina, the Charlotte Bobcats at the time when the expansion team was made for our particular area. He talked about his journey in reference to a $15,000 bank loan and about $500,000 in reference to investments from a cable magnate, John Malone, how he started off BET and how that came about in reference to someone coming to him when he was a cable industry vice president, if I'm thinking correctly, and how this person came to him with the idea in reference to setting up a network for those elderly people. And so he kind of used that particular person's business plan and put in, instead of having elderly, he put in Black. And so he started to think about that and how he felt like, okay, if I don't go ahead and get on top of this right now, that this is going to be a missed opportunity for me to be able to do something different. And also kind of thinking about Bob Johnson. Of course, now Bob Johnson has sold it off, and now it's the Bobcats are now their old name, which is the Hornets, and Michael Jordan is the owner now. But what they were talking about is that he really didn't do it for that particular reason, to have a Black-owned business. He did it to be able to have opportunity, to establish opportunities for other people. And what he did, just by establishing BET, he was able to, one, become a billionaire with a B himself. And he was able to bring upon other 8 people and make them millionaires with an M. So it was not just about him becoming successful, was also giving back to others and as we call it, stacking the bench, to be able to bring other people along the ride as well, and to really serve others by opening up doors that were probably not open for other people at the time. So really good chapter. It was really more so talking about how people could go back and serve others in reference to that. So let's kind of dive in, because I don't want to take too much time in that. Let's dive into chapter 6. Chapter 6 is the road not taken. So this particular one is just talking about the 6th law of wealth. It says, dare not is one thing, cannot is another. Not everyone can be rich, but anyone can dare to. Someone has to. And that was by Felix Dennis. Also, it has a quote here from Magic Johnson over to Shaquille O'Neal. It says, it's okay to be a superstar, but be the man in LA. But sooner or later, you need to start your own thing. So just kind of talking through this particular chapter is saying, trying to travel the road less taken or not taken. This one, and I know I always say this, and I think I've only said this but every time, but not once. Just only once I kind of didn't say this. This particular chapter was interesting, very easy to read. I think it gave us a sense of pushing you further, pushing you to think differently. And when I was reading through this particular chapter, it really gave me a lot of insights to kind of how we should think. Definitely if we're thinking about being a successful Black business person, but also someone who's thinking about being financially stable. It talked about how riches are within your reach. Talked about, just different people in reference to how they started their services. They started off with, I think, Mark Wilson, in reference to, I think he's done in Bradstreet. Talked about him and talked about how he was one of the fastest growing private companies in the United States. He, trying to think, he had a couple of things in reference to building what is called Ryla Teleservices. It's a 20-seat operations center in 2002, and then he ended up making it more than 35,000 employees. He started off with revenues of a startup, I think, with 1.1 million, and then now it's more than 100 million sales from 2002 to 2009. So we just talked about him and how he started off. It also talks about Sylvia Woods. Sylvia's, I know she has that famous restaurant in New York that people talk about, and how she started off with actually going to college, and she ended up moving to New York, if I'm thinking correctly. She was born in South Carolina, and how she went there to really to make her mark in business and different things like that. But she ended up becoming a waitress, if I'm thinking correctly, in a restaurant in New York, and how she didn't know anything about running a business. And the owner just said something to her in reference to, hey, won't you buy this restaurant? And she was looking like, really? You want to sell your restaurant? And so she took charge of this particular restaurant. She actually had her mother to mortgage her family farm and loans that she generated for about $20,000. 1962, she took charge of the restaurant, changed the menu, and under the name Sylvia's began serving Southern-style home cooking. Her husband, 4 children, pitched in and clearing tables, seats, and ended up launching a family tradition. So today it says it has hordes of patrons and it's a landmark. And I even heard of Sylvia's myself. I've heard of that particular restaurant. Matter of fact, it's some of her recipes and her things are actually in supermarkets across the nation as well. So it was really good to kind of talk about her particular success and how she started off with really not even thinking about running a restaurant, but how she was able to get success there by kind of changing up the menu and doing something a little bit different.
But let me ask you a question on Miss Sharon. So
yes,
because at first I'll be honest with you, when I was reading this chapter, because it was called The Road Not Taken, and I kept trying to figure out what's the sixth law? What's the sixth law? Because he didn't say it until the end. But I started thinking,
he teased you, right?
Right. So, but I started thinking as you were talking about Sylvia and then the owner flashing on her to buy the restaurant. I started thinking, so the road not taken could actually, you could say the road not taken as being one that nobody thinks of. We all go down that same road. But you could also be thinking in her situation, you'd be thinking, owning a restaurant is something that she never thought she would do. So that proverbial road for her is one that she probably wouldn't have taken had the owner not even offered her an opportunity to purchase the restaurant. Because as I said, I mean, obviously somebody that couldn't make a cup of coffee, she said she burned herself serving her first customer. So that tells me that she had no idea, let alone how to run a restaurant, but how to even cook food, even do simple tasks like brewing a cup of coffee and serving it to a customer. So that road not taken can also mean that you have some talent in your arsenal that has not been discovered yet. And we would talk about that later in the chapter, but you could even have a talent that you haven't even discovered yet. Because is this a chapter that talks about how a guy tried? When you get down into the book a little bit, a gentleman, he was a gadget guy growing up, in his teens, and then
Lonnie Johnson.
Yeah, and so then he tried, he put 3 things in play. He started doing 3 things. And his mindset was, well, one of these will take. I think one of them was the
Super Soaker.
Super Soaker, right? And he had 2 other things that he was working on that he thought, well, I'll do all 3 of these things, and something will take. So that road not taken, that can be translated as you doing something, like you said, something that you never thought you would do, or a skill or talent or the proclivity to do something that you never really looked at.
I think that's exactly what this chapter is talking about. It's talking about how sometimes we plan our lives one way, and then it ends up being something different. But when the opportunity knocks, you have to be able to see it's an opportunity. And I think that's what you're talking about with Dr. Kimbrough, that he's saying, okay, a lot of people that he researched, they talked about how the opportunities came. It may have been something they saw in themselves and that they were determined to get there with perseverance, or it was something that, just like Miss Sylvia, it was just, oh goodness, I kind of just came up on this opportunity and I was able to do that. I was going to say, anybody else, Natasha, Lord, anybody want to kind of talk a little bit more about a couple of things here? If not, I can go on and start talking about Mr. Johnson a little bit more.
I agree. With Sylvia, I believe it's something that that previous owner must have seen something in her to give her that business. She didn't know. I don't think she even had the faith in herself. Like your husband said, she kept burning herself. But, and I didn't realize that was the same Sylvia. Like you said, they're selling her things in stores. I've seen that. But she didn't realize that she had that talent. Someone else saw it in her. And she became successful because of it. But again, I believe someone had to loan her some money. So there was some sacrificing her family. But, you know, she didn't give up and she became successful. And the guy with the water gun, I was wondering, did he invent the water gun? Because I also read that he, I guess it was reinvented, I guess, and made over and over again. But was he the one to actually, was that his idea? I know he created it, but was he the first person was what I was trying to figure out.
I think he was. I think he was. I think that he's probably a multi-millionaire based on the licensing, if I'm understanding correctly. And I need to look him up. I'm gonna tell you, what I've started to do is start to look up some of these people. But you're exactly right. I think he was the first person to actually patent it. And then now you said they have had about 100 or so on this book. It's probably twice that many now, in reference to the invention that have copies of that particular super soaker gun. So yes, I think he was the originator in reference to the licensing.
Yeah, I mean, I've just had so many aha moments, like reading this book with the African Americans that have invented or created things that I wasn't aware of. But, you know, we know what these things are, or we're familiar with the product that this person has made, or the hotel. Like one guy, I've stayed in the Royal Palm. So it's just really, really impressive to me. And like you said, your husband said, I was trying to figure out, they kind of tricked us, like, okay, what is this sixth law? As I kept reading. So, yeah, you know, those are my only thoughts on that. Is, you know, someone else saw something in Sylvia.
It did, yeah.
And with him, and like with all of these examples, it seems like, you know, it does take that perseverance, and not giving up, having faith, the things that we talked about previously, just, you know, having that gift and just going from there and not giving up. And like you said, chapter 5 I missed was about service, but just finding something that can impact others. And, you know, once you found that thing and your talent and your skill and that thing that impacts others, kind of taking that and putting the work in, it may not have success like the first year. It may take a couple of years, but kind of like believing in yourself and putting in that work for 60 to 80 hours per week. So that I can't exactly remember the example, but they gave the different options that you can take. So the second option was the one of these business owners. And then like when you go to the beach, it actually looks different. There's not as many people that are actually on the same path with you. So that's it for now. I'm not going to talk too much, but.
No, I love it. I think, and I'm going to come back to these examples that you're talking about, because I highlighted a lot of things here. That's why I was like, as I go through this book, it gets easier and easier to read, because it starts to tap into those things that were, especially if a person that you're wanting more out of life, and you're looking for your calling, as Dr. Kimbrough saying, that you're starting to really pay attention to what he's saying here, especially like Manny Jackson, who was actually bought the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
I did not know that the Harlem Globetrotters was not technically owned by Black people until
I didn't either.
They said that, and that, of course, now he does own it, but I didn't know that originally that it was started out not to be that particular way, and how the original owner, what is his name? I think it's Sid. I can't think of Sid's name now, last name, but how he took him under his wing. And he was able to kind of talk him through, you know, different things, and how he went off to be successful. Can't think of the company that he was with beforehand, and I apologize. Honeywell. That's it. I knew it was something local that we have here in Charlotte, and Honeywell, and how he was successful there, but that how he really was looking for something different. And of course, you know, we've talked about that several times with all the groups of people that's collected here, how we're, you know, sometimes we're looking for something else. We're not fulfilled. And I think that's kind of where he was talking about, and how he went back after he had his career with Honeywell and different things like that, but he really realized that he wanted to go back and to do something different. So With talking to the actual owner, and I think we realized that he wanted to sell the Globetrotters, he decided that he wanted to make an impact, and he decided he wanted to go ahead and own them. So with that said, he took it over. He reestablished some of the operating practices. He also rehired staff. He kind of reorganized the organization, if I'm saying this correctly, and that he was able to bring profits back to this particular once successful enterprise that kind of had seen its heyday. He's brought it back to being in the 21st century by bringing in I think he said a mascot or different things like that to really put a refreshing spin on it. Mm-hmm. I thought this was really, really cool because I remember the Harlem Globetrotters myself as a kid and how they would come into town and you would go and you knew kind of some of the tricks that they would have, but you didn't really know that it was really a business. And it was kind of like now kind of reading back on this particular one, he talked about this. So one thing that I did highlight that they talked about Mr. Jackson, they says, is there a life after leaving corporate America? And he says, Jackson explains, yes. The benefits of the sixth law of wealth within the first 14 months after leaving Honeywell. I made more money than I earned during my entire 25-year corporate career.
Right.
Both my net worth and most important, my self-worth are at levels well beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah. What page is that on, Ms. Sharon?
That's on 225.
Okay.
Up top in the second paragraph. And I put yes right there and I highlighted it. And I thought that was so really eye-opening to hear him say that sometimes what we do is that we're holding on to security.
Yes.
And I think in this chapter, they talk about this a little bit. It's like the risk that's involved, that you have to step out on faith. You have to step out to be able to push past just being ordinary. You have to be able to pass through that, and talked about him there, talked about Robert Frost, talks about a couple of different people here, talked about, I think, Robert Frost being one of the youngest African-American CEOs of a public trade company, talks about that GoFairyToGo.com, talked about how he started his particular business. Let's see. Let me pull this up. Okay, I wrote this out and I put a heart by it, so I think this is really good. It talks about Mr. Taylor. He has a whole side of the page that he talked about here, and I put wow, inspiring yourself. So this is on 226. He says true success begins when we simply find that inner spark, talent, that passion in our lives, and go after it with the exclusion of all other things. You can work harder or you can work smarter. I believe the most difficult task is the work you are forced to do for someone else. There's something mentally draining about it. Ooh, we know that.
Yeah, we do.
For firsthand. While we should all be grateful for the opportunity to earn a living and support our families, it's difficult to get into the mindset that we're doing it for ourselves. We're not. When in reality, we're working for someone else. Working smart really means thinking about the path that you're taking and analyzing if this chosen line of work suits your talents and your gifts.
Yes.
And
that's when you start talking about that option 1 and option 2. That's where you're talking about, Natasha. You were going into the beach, or maybe you talking, I can't remember, but
that was you talking about option 1 and option 2 about the beach.
Yeah.
And on one option is a whole bunch of folks out there acting crazy, and then the other one is you go out there and you see the pot of gold, and nobody's out there but just you and maybe a couple of people, and those people that made a good decision.
Yeah.
Now they're not proverbially chasing the tail, so to speak. But I also going back to what you just read on page 226 about where he says, I believe this be the most difficult task is the work you are when you're forced to work for someone else. That's a mindset, and I think he even talked about in his book how I forget what page it's on, but he addresses the fact that we're told to do, and I'm gonna paraphrase, to do a couple of things: go to school, get good grades, go to college,
Yeah.
get a job,
Right.
work
Option one.
work for 40 years, right? Work for 40 years, and then try to retire on 40% of what it was hard to make it on in the first place. Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
that's the bill of goods that we've been sold. And so this is why if you have the true entrepreneurial spirit, or you want to move into the entrepreneurial arena and be and to join the millionaire elitists, then yeah, it is it's going to be difficult for you to work for other people because your mindset is beginning to change. You start thinking, man, I'm just doing this for him. I'm helping him put his or her kids through college. I'm helping him get him a new S class.
Yeah.
I'm helping him buy his son a new house. Okay. I'm helping him leave a legacy, or her leave a legacy for her children's children. Okay.
Yes.
And so that's the part that gets me boggled. That's the part that I'm thinking, man, what are we really doing here? Okay. But anyway, I just want to share that.
No, you're right, because it talks about, I think that's why the road not taken. I think that's exactly what he's saying, is that the first road most everybody takes, and don't get me wrong, I think we all done that, and to some degrees you have to do that to get started. You got, especially when you don't have the means or the income to be able to start your own business, because this chapter is exactly what that is. He's saying start your own business. He's blunt with this one. We didn't understand that the first couple chapters in chapter 6, that's why that is really what that lesson is. That particular one he's talking about, the road I'm taking, means stop taking the same road everybody's taking in order to get self-fulfillment and get security. Security is not there. He talks about, I'm gonna go past the option 2, but I'll come back to it. He talks about, well, let me go back. He said on option 1, people are broken, worn out, broken people mostly sitting and wondering what went wrong. For those who chose option 1, life drags on. Day after day, paycheck to paycheck, blue Mondays to TGI Fridays, weekend to weekend, vacation to vacation, finally retirement, then it's gone, game over.
See?
Yeah,
See?
absolutely.
That's it.
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what Mr. Tufts was talking about. Option 1 and option 2. That's exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Right. And it goes to show how we're in a routine because we're doing the same thing everybody else does. Where he says option 2, when it's all said and done, the only way to gain your freedom is to buy it.
Yeah.
You can't lease it, nor can you wish for it. You buy it and then you own it. You enjoy your health, and that's so true. Most of your wealthy people are healthier. They have the financial means to be able to get the best doctors, best treatment, eat healthily.
Yeah.
Eat healthy, and then also be able to have shelves or whatever to do that. Then it says, enjoy your health, your family, your financial security. Think about that goal of owning your own life and doing what you love. Yeah. From just barely getting by to living a life on your own terms, now you can begin to take responsibility for your success and your failure. You own your own life. What option would you choose?
Wow.
I know which one I want to choose.
2. Absolutely 2.
When I read that, guys, I wrote and I highlighted because I was like, I'm loving this chapter because he's making you think outside the box. He says, I said on here, option 2 sounds better. It says, what makes these millionaire stories and achievements so compelling? It is that their daring seems to lurk behind the decisions and apply techniques and ideas contained within the secret of the 6th law. It is the willingness for these women and men to leap before they look.
Yeah.
Wow. I saw that. It talks about Shirley Bailey, how she was one of the first Black women to graduate from Howard University School of Dentistry, how she talked through that, and she just talked about how you had to finally, you must do and uncover and implement in your own life the secret that is contained within the sixth law. Well, first, you must make a conscious decision that when your moment arrives, you're going to embrace and pursue this course of action. So that was Sylvia
That's what
D.
she said.
Yes.
That's what she did. She was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do, but when the opportunity knocks,
yeah,
I'm going to jump in and do it. And I think that's kind of why she was successful. The guy, like you said, Natasha, the guy saw something in her.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what we have to do. I don't know if he was a black guy or not. I don't know what the situation there was. But the great thing about it is that person saw something in her that she probably didn't see in herself. And it started the chain events of her next steps of her life. And guess what happened? She ended up being self-sufficient on that one thing. She took what he had and she made it her own and she made it better. But who saw that?
Yeah. But I think it's similar with Jackson because he had the mentor. What was his name? Abe or
it was Abe. Yeah.
That basically he was his mentor, but he introduced him to so many other people, high profile businessmen.
He did.
And I think because of that, I think it's important that we have those mentors that are in the position that we want to be in.
And don't have to be black.
Yes. Because both of them kind of had someone to see something and help them along the way.
Yeah. And they don't have to be black. They can be of a different race because a lot of times they have the doors open for them already that are able to assist you. But you got to be able to be willing to walk through those doors. I mean, it's really cool. They talk about Leah Brown and how she established, and this is something, dear to us, Natasha, in reference to into healthcare. It was A1 Clinical Solutions and how her uncle passed away in reference to AIDS and how she was successful too. I mean, a lot of people weren't just coming, they were poor, like some of the chapters we had before.
Yeah.
These are successful people that were in corporate America and that wasn't fulfilling them. It was something else that they felt like their calling was. And so she talked about how she was frustrated in reference to how her uncle was treated. And so she was going through a divorce. She was going through a corporate downsize. And so how she was able to really kind of use that particular time to start to see what her passion was. And so with the passing of her uncle, it really opened her eyes on how that particular segment of healthcare, how it was being neglected because she couldn't find answers. She couldn't find treatments for this particular disease at the time. And so one thing I highlighted on 229, guys, it says, here it was during a trying time in her life when pain and anger can enter and destroy or inspire you. I'm going to say it again because I didn't say that with the punch that I need to say.
Where is it at, Sharon? On 229?
Yeah, 229 is at the bottom. So it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sentences up. It says it was here during a trying time in her life when pain and anger can either destroy or inspire you.
Yep.
That Brown discovered this sixth law, a place where only this principle resides, where there is no past, no regret, and only the anticipation of future success. So I know this is true because of what we've been through, Tom.
Yeah.
Either pain is going to devastate you, or it's going to uplift you. It's going to make you push farther to be able to push yourself past your pain, past the whatever you're going through. It's going to push you to motivate you to do something else, maybe by, serving somebody else, by community service, by a new job, anything. This particular case, she was able to start a brand new company in reference to a certain sector of the healthcare system that was being neglected. And so this was just awesome because I don't think I would have thought it that way. She thought different. She was like, okay, people thought she was nuts. People thought she was crazy that she was going to start opening up different centers, and not centers, but it was mobile centers that she had out there to start serving that particular sector of the community. And now it's it says the company's revenue has climbed steadily from 6 million in 2008 to nearly 20 million in 2010. The same year, Brown was named one of the Fortune magazine's top 10 most powerful women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It is.
And she's been working with clients. Of course, we know Natasha.
Yes.
GSK, Merck.
Yes.
I mean, when I saw this, I mean, I highlighted the whole section because I was like, see, this is what I'm talking about. She went into a section, an unrepresented population of healthcare, and she did something about it. So now she has, brick and mortar centers and different things like that. But it was just cool to see that someone was able to put an idea out there, something that people didn't think that would work. That's what he's saying here. It's like the road not taken.
Yeah.
Because people thought she was crazy. Didn't think that would work. Oh, that won't work. Why would you do that? And guess what? $10 million. Excuse me, $20 million 2010. Just imagine what that is now in 2022. So that's really cool. Really, really cool to see that. On page 231, it talked about Brown and kind of a couple things that she said. One thing she quoted says, "Fear nothing. Fear can cripple you and stop you in your tracks."
Yeah. I highlighted that too.
I did too.
That's the key. That's one of the key things I'm getting from every example in this book. Is that, like we said before, that fear is what stops most of us. Like we probably have had some of these ideas, being in our field, sharing something similar. You just like, just a little bit too scared, don't know what to do, how to get started. But these people don't allow anything to stop them.
No, I mean, that's the excuses are gone. They matter of fact, I don't know if I highlighted it, but that's what they're saying. They say, why won't you sign up for that? Why get a job? I wanted the journey. That's what we talked about here. She wrapped it up. She's like, through it all, I knew that we were going to make a difference. When you have an opportunity to do something special, to impact others, and to touch pretty much everyone in the world, why won't you sign up for that?
Yeah. She said the journey. The journey.
Not the journey. It's the journey. But see, a lot of times I think what happens with us, and not saying this for everybody, but we're thinking about stability, we're thinking about the money, we think about those things, especially when you have children. Of course, that makes a difference too. But it's kind of like you have to think past these limitations or these excuses. It says 7-figure income is a mosaic and composed of all small stones, which the 6th law of wealthy in 6 unforgettable words, thou shalt not, thou shalt own thy own business.
Come on, man.
That is what the 6th law is. That's what he's saying. And when he said that, I highlighted and I talked about it. And so he talks about the next chapter, are entrepreneurs born or they're made? And I'm like, wow, I never thought. He said, okay, let's think about the egg or the chicken.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the age-old question, right? What came first?
The age-old question. He said, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? And I thought about it. My brain went puzzle. I was like, that question mark comes up.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have an egg in order to have a chicken, but the chicken got to lay the egg in order to have the egg. So it's kind of like, you're right. So it was very interesting to say. So basically what he was saying, are they born or are they made? That's what the analogy is. And so he was saying that, a lot of people will argue that they're born, but a lot of people will say that they're made. And so it just talks about how different, people talk about how some people also contend that management skills cannot be taught. An effective or good manager is a born manager. Today, however, the discipline of management is something that academia takes for granted. And that is so true. And we know that, Tosh, for sure, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
We know that for a fact, just, with the business that we work in, how good management, how those skill sets are really somewhat innate. You have to kind of have those, and you get people who tweak those things. And I thought that was really cool that they talked about that, because what a leader is either born or made, but it's really your philosophy of kind of which one you think goes. Like either the person has those skill sets in them and you keep them by being a person who is a avid learner, person who's a lifelong learner and wants to learn and grow and continue to shape themselves. But then also you got to have something in you that thinks a little bit differently. You have to have that. So it talks really good about those things. On chapter, excuse me, almost you say chapter more. On page 234, he talks about kind of some of the core strategies or the behaviors that he found that was common with Black millionaires, guys. And he talks about, I think it's about 5 of them. Let me make sure.
No, it's 6. It's actually 6.
It is 6 of them. Okay. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't, okay, it is 6 of them. So he talked about first, the desire for independence, although research suggests that entrepreneurs are made rather than being born. That's what he says, research says. My data pointed out that those business owners who built entrepreneurial enterprises with 7 figures plus revenue shared a combination of behaviors and attitudes that differ from those of their peers who presided over less successful startups. When asked for the top 3 most important entrepreneurial qualities, nearly 75% cited vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And 73% cited passion. 64% drive. And then it says, talks about here, the well-known author, Jeffrey Gitomer, it says, motivational speaker, when you're in business for yourself, you create your own destiny, you write your own story, you design your own legacy, and most important, you sign your own paycheck.
Yeah.
I like that. I wrote this on his to design your own destiny. I thought that was so fabulous when I read that. That's why I was like, yes. You started to realize that's why that sixth law is so powerful.
Yeah, that's
Owning
good.
your own destiny.
Yep.
So number 2, deep sense of purpose. It says Black business owners who have reached millionaire status are shaping this country, and those examined in the study have done their part to nudge our nation with a W-2 economy to a 1099 economy, from employee to employer. That was good too. I thought that was good. I was like, okay, he's right. From W-2, meaning you work for somebody, to 1099, you own your own business. You own your own stuff. So you're not necessarily the employee. You're the employer now. And even if you're your own employee, I mean, you don't have anybody. You just employ yourself. That's you owning your own destiny. I thought that was really cool. They're driven by a fire in the belly that makes the improbable possible.
Yeah.
Number 3 talks about, Bob Johnson again here and Kathy Hughes saying, seeing is believing. Black millionaires have adapted a new business model from find a need to fill it, to imagine a need and create it.
There you go.
Damian John, Lisa Price, Kathy Hughes, David Stewart, they have redrawn the lines of what it means to be in business. These serial entrepreneurs will stop at nothing to have the dreams and visions recognized. So that was pretty cool for number 3. Number 4, tolerance for the uncertainty. There's a general consensus among the survey respondents that each is committed to begin their day with thoughts of why not? Rather than I can't. If you don't get where you want, if you don't get what you want in life, it is a sign that you either didn't want it bad enough or you tried to haggle over the price.
Right.
Yeah, that why not over I can't, that's powerful.
That is.
Yeah. That number 4, that was powerful for me, because I think I highlighted and I said so true. I said, wow, true, because I think we just make excuses. And not saying that it's not, it is hard. I mean, you don't know what to do. You don't know if you're paycheck way, but he talks about it in a few minutes and we're about to get there. How that if you don't start making these decisions, that eventually corporate America is going to, it's going to start giving you a pink slip. So let's talk through that. Number 5, it says, will iron-willed and sheer determination and an overriding commitment to succeed. So it just talks about that. It says Colleen Payne Neighbors, a former nuclear technologist, debuted her vision with a single employee, one mobile van, and a handful of fresh painted business cards. So it talks about her particular one. She has that mobile cardiac imaging, the MCI Diagnostic Center, and how she actually started that off in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it was a closing a gap of much needed healthcare services, the same thing in healthcare. As a result of her earnings have soared from a $40,000 a year paycheck to owning and operating a business with revenues in excess of $20 million. I'm sorry, I said 12. I mean 20, but it's 12 million. It don't matter.
Yeah.
It's
million.
So 40,000 a year to excess of 12 million. My once orderly life has taken a massive change. I cannot be overly disappointed, discouraged, or depressed by setbacks. When they do occur, I view them as a learning experience. I try to see adversity and obstacles as opportunities and possibilities. That's going back to not fearing things, right?
Yep.
It's a different mindset. They have a different mindset completely.
Totally. I mean, just going for the gusto. It's like, okay, why am I going to sit here and limit myself to, being frustrated, working for someone else, paycheck to paycheck. So when that person decides they want to let me go, bam, I'm out of here. I got to sit here and depend on that person. They just think differently. And like I said, one person said, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and that's okay. But it's kind of just being persistent. It's like, okay, at least finding out what you're good at and be able to be successful there. So the sixth behavior, they said multiple income streams, multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
38. I always say that.
Yeah.
I don't say nothing else. I always say you got to have multiple streams of income. And when I saw that, I was like,
yes.
Yes, that is what I think about all the time. I'm thinking about what else can I do to make money? Where else can I go to make my money work for me? And that's exactly what he's saying here. It talks about John D. Rockefeller Jr., who is the son of the titan, John Rockefeller of Standard Oil. Of course, I know about Standard Oil and all that, and how they were conglomerates of the 1900s and different things, and how he was teaching his children. I think this is really good for us, and this is probably why this book is really good for our kids too to read. How he gave them allowances, and then he also taught them how to start up businesses and different things like that, and how his children were successful because they were taught at an early age by giving money, by how they can earn money and how they can grow their money and different things like that. And I think that's something that we have to do better in our particular community, is being able to not just give money to them, our children, but also show them the power of the dollar and how important it is to be able to, one, like you said, save money. So he talked about the 4 different lessons that he was trying to teach his children of creating wealth and how they could be wiser on the quality they obtain. So first one was here. The first one said, being prepared to work, whatever you work to acquire, you value. So he was just saying, be good at what you're doing. Love what you do the best that you can do at it, and make sure that you show them each and every day. I thought that wasn't that cool that, regardless, those kids were privileged, but he wanted them to have a great work ethic. That's what he was saying there.
Yep.
I thought that was cool. Wealthy people want their children also to have a great work ethic. Number 2, know where your money is going, account for every penny. It said maintaining accurate and itemized records for your daily expenditures. Whatever you can account for, you control. So that's cool too, because you got to be able to know where every dollar goes, where every penny goes, and you're not previously using your money where you don't know where it goes. I thought that was really cool because you're able to control it. That's something I'm working on, making sure that I understand where everything goes.
Yeah.
So if I need to cut something off or I need to, stay within my budgets, that's where I need to do that. So I'm trying to do a better job of that. Save 10% of your earnings. The root of wealth and prosperity can be found in saving. So making sure that we're putting up 10% of our money, more than 10% if we can, be able to put that to the side for a rainy day, for emergency funds, for those things to make that money earn interest to work for you. And then last but not least, if you're not wealthy because you possess a lot of money, you are wealthy when your money works for you. So that means that money's working hard. So it should be compounding interest. It should be seeing itself work. So that same money you putting to the side, it should be in some type of fund that is generating more money, more money. So one day when you wake up, you're like, oh, I'm sleeping and I got this nice sack of cash here that I'm generating wealth on. And that's what we have to think different. That means not putting it on the mattress or not putting it just in a savings account, going out there and investing in stocks and bonds and mutual funds and investments and different things like that, so we can build more stability and build more wealth that way. So I thought that was really, really cool that he talked through that a little bit more in reference to that. Let's see. They talked about the Frisco, Texas couple as well, and how I think they had moved from Atlanta and they had worked together. I think it was a network marketing?
Yeah, multi-level marketing situation.
Yeah, I thought about you, Tom. I know that those are the businesses that you have been in several across your time, your lifetime, and how those have helped you as well, and how they work together. That's how they met in reference to it. It was called 5 Links Umbrella. So they was talking about them, and it says, according to the Carters, successful networking is a skill that comes through experience and belief. From day one, they believed in the networking profession and never wavered in their conviction that they were going to succeed. That's cool.
And see, the underlying thing there is all throughout the whole book, even right here, is even more evident. You have to develop a belief system. And that first belief system is in.
Oh, this is the part.
Yeah, is in you first.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think you can, because if you think you can do it, and you think you can't do it, you're right both times. So
yeah. So right here is the part that I was talking about, guys. Tasha, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just agreeing with him. If you believe you can do it, you will do it.
Right, you will do it. You will do it, and you will persevere because you believe you can do it. Because especially and that's just like network marketing is just like you owning a pizza joint. You're working for yourself, and you said here earlier you can decide you sign your own paycheck. You can decide how much you work, if you work. You can decide who you work with. You can decide who you don't want to work with. And so I also see a lot of discipline in this, because for you to own thy own business, you got to be disciplined. You got to be disciplined enough to be able to know when to work and if you should work and how long you should work, because you got to eat. And so if you don't work, you don't eat. Those two things kind of go together. So you really have to be disciplined with your time and as well as your money and your resources to make it in any kind of business like this.
You know what? This is the part. I know we're at time, but I want to say a couple of things, and I promise you guys I'll let you go. This is the part that I really was trying to get to. I couldn't remember where it was in the chapter, but on page 240 at the last paragraph, it talks about, in this economy, if you're tied or confined to a single paycheck, you are really unemployed.
Yep.
When I read that, I was whoo.
Yep. That's most of us right there.
Yes.
That's all of us. If you don't have multiple income.
Right. They say, well, Miss Sharon, we just, it's the bottom line. I mean, ultimately, the bottom line is the company's in business to make money. And if they're paying you six figures, and they go, what is it? Even say in the book, the people the people on the highest rail of the pay scale, they're the target because a company is in business to make money, and when they decide to let people go, the high payer, the high paycheck people are the first ones to go.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they talked about that. Yeah,
exactly right.
They talked about that on 241. They say two things there. I mean, you hitting it right on the nose. It says the best way to do that is to utilize the proven ageless money making formula at the heart of the sixth law of wealth. Create multiple streams of income first.
There you go.
He jumps down and he says, "New rules of money. Fire your boss."
Come on now.
Yeah.
Fire your boss.
And
I thought that was so cool because I was like, fire your boss. So I read deeper. It says here, moreover, seasoned employees, like you said, with peak salaries will eventually be the chief target of layoffs.
Yeah.
Once lost, such employees are most difficult to place.
Yep.
With each of us as living with loads of uncertainty, adjusting and readjusting as our industry evolves, putting into 50 hours per week or more in the meantime. Here's the prediction. Sooner or later, you will reach a pivotal moment in your career, maybe close to your intended retirement date, maybe not, when you will want to look long and hard about the possibilities of proceeding on your own terms of living life without a paycheck.
Yeah.
You have to think about it. You got to think about one day you may not have a paycheck coming. So what are you thinking about to generate those multiple streams of income so you won't be without a paycheck?
Right.
I mean,
so you'll be without a paycheck, but what you got to think about is how you're gonna eat without a paycheck.
That's exactly right. So the last couple of pages, just to kind of wrap this up, because I know we want to be respectful of time. Just talks about job security, says a phrase that our parents and grandparents frequently use, but in today's economy, the concept of any type of security, job or social, has gone with the way of it's been gone away with analog phones and with 8-track tapes.
There you go.
Yeah. And there's no such thing as that. And he's so true. There is nothing secure about any job that we have. That we have to start thinking outside of the realm and the box and thinking deeper on how we can be more secure. But security, it said there's no such thing. There's only opportunity. That's on page 243.
That's good. Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. 242, it talks about it's fine for those creatures on the left side of the evolutionary chart, but for those men and women front and center into the 21st century, right, with opportunities, simply surviving is out of the question and the beginning of a long slide towards oblivion. So he's saying you cannot just survive, you have to thrive. Yep. You can't just be willing just to get a paycheck, just to survive, just to be just over broke. You got to be able to strive for some more success, for more security, but it takes you to think about the roads not taken to be able to do those things. So all they're saying here, the last thing, and I'll let us go, it says we need more faith-filled men and women who are energetic enough, bold enough, determined enough, gritty enough to sign their own name on the front of a paycheck as well as the back.
Hello.
And it starts with, like Tom said, believing in ourselves first. Yeah.
Yes.
Woo.
Yeah.
No fear.
No fear. I mean, this particular chapter had a lot of nuggets that motivate you. He was telling you the sixth law of wealth was having your own business. That's what it was. Having your own business.
Very firm in this chapter.
Very clear.
Direct, yes.
He was like, let's stop playing with y'all. If you don't understand what I mean by the end of this chapter, you're not. So I just thought it was really good. I like when he's direct, because when he's not direct, it gets a little choppy. So I thought it was a great chapter, guys. Great discussion. We'll be ready for chapter 7 next week.
Okay.
And then we'll have a 2-week 2-week stop. No, not 2 week, 1 week stop. And for Labor Day, and then we'll come back and finish 8. So we'll be back next week on chapter 7. It says, "May thy money grow," and that's going to be the 7th law of wealth. We'll talk through that next week. Enjoyed you guys. This was really good.
Sounds good. Enjoyed you guys as always. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Talk to you guys later.
All right, later, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.